You are looking at a screen right now. It feels normal, but if one funding meeting in 1969 went differently, this screen would be blank. There would be no Wi-Fi, no social media, no Google. In 1969, the US military funded ARPANET. It was a tiny project to connect 4 computers. The first message crashed the system. In our timeline, they fixed it. But what if they just gave up? Let us look at that world. By 1995, computers are still just fancy typewriters. You buy software on floppy disks at a physical store. If you want to talk to your cousin across the country, you write a letter. Or you pay $3 a minute for a long-distance call. Smartphones do not exist. Nokia sells cell phones, but they only make calls and play Snake. Without the web, the global economy looks completely different. Amazon does not exist. You buy books at the mall. Netflix is not a thing. You rent VHS tapes on Fridays. If you lose your job, you find a new one in the Sunday newspaper. No remote work. Everyone commutes. Traffic is worse because there is no GPS. You use a paper map from a gas station. Some things are better. Teenagers do not have Instagram. Mental health stats are great. People look up at the sky instead of down at their hands. But progress is slow. Medical research takes decades because scientists cannot share data instantly. The world is bigger, quieter, and much more disconnected. It is a world where you actually have to know things instead of just Googling them. You would not be watching this video, and I would not be here to tell you about it. We would just be 2 strangers, completely offline. In 1968, a group of scientists asked the US government for a tiny budget. They wanted to connect 4 computers together. The military committee looked at the bill. They looked at the budget for the Vietnam War. They asked one question: why would anyone need computers to talk to each other? Computers are for math, not talking. They stamped the paper rejected. That one decision killed the internet before it was even born. In our world, that project became ARPANET. It changed everything. In this world, the engineers went home. They got other jobs. One went into medical imaging. Another built flight simulators. Nobody tried to connect the machines again. By 1975, computers were getting fast. Banks bought them. Universities filled basements with them. But every single machine was an island. If a scientist in Boston wanted to share data with a colleague in Miami, they had to write the numbers on magnetic tape. They put the tape in a box. They paid a courier to fly it across the country. It took 3 days. It was expensive. It was slow. But everyone thought that was normal. A professor at Stanford once stood in a room full of loud, cooling computer towers. He told his class, "We have built the smartest machines in human history, but they are completely deaf and dumb. They cannot speak to their brothers." The students laughed. It was just a joke, but it was true. By 1985, the personal computer arrived in living rooms. Companies like Commodore and Apple sold millions of them. Families used them to write letters and track budgets. Kids played simple games, but the machines just sat in the corner. If you wanted to share a game with your cousin down the street, you walked to his house with a floppy disk in your pocket. There was no email. There were no forums. There was no online chat. One night in Chicago, a teenager finished her history report at midnight. She asked her dad how to send it to her teacher so she could sleep in. Her dad laughed. "You print it out, put it in your backpack, and hand it to him tomorrow." That was the only way. The technology to connect them existed. The wires were already in the walls. The phone lines crossed the entire country, but nobody had the software to link them. No one had the protocol. In Geneva, a young researcher named Tim Berners-Lee tried to organize his files. In our world, he invented the World Wide Web to solve this. In this world, he looked at his isolated computer and gave up. He built a slightly better digital filing cabinet for his own office. It worked great. Nobody else ever saw it. By 1995, the world looked completely different from ours. No search engines, no websites, no digital stores. The local library was still the most important building in town. If you wanted to buy a plane ticket, you walked into a travel agency. The agent called the airline on a rotary phone. If you wanted to buy a book, you walked to a bookstore. If they did not have it, you waited 3 weeks for a catalog order. The economy was heavy. It was made of paper, trucks, and warehouses. Millions of people worked as couriers. They rode bicycles through city streets, carrying legal documents and contracts. They were the physical internet. Overnight shipping companies became the most valuable businesses on Earth. They did not move packages, they moved information. As the year 2000 approached, the world was quiet. People still wrote letters by hand. They bought newspapers to find out what happened yesterday. On every office desk, a computer screen glowed in the dark. It was incredibly powerful. It could calculate millions of numbers in a second. But the screen was completely dark. It only showed what was inside its own metal box. It was a library with only one book, and the door was locked. By the late 1980s, computers had become essential. Every major company owned them. Banks depended on them. Hospitals stored patient records. Universities processed research. Governments managed enormous databases. Technology had advanced, but communication had not. Every organization lived inside its own digital world. A hospital in London could not instantly exchange medical records with a hospital in Paris. A university in California could not easily collaborate with researchers in Tokyo. Businesses still relied on fax machines, postal services, telephone calls, and overnight couriers. Information moved, but only as fast as people could carry it. Inside offices, rows of filing cabinets still lined the walls. Paper remained king. A manager preparing an international report made 3 copies. One for the meeting, one for the archives, one to send overseas by courier. Nothing existed in a digital cloud. Because there was no cloud, large corporations attempted to solve the problem. They built private networks, connecting offices within their own companies. Banks linked branches. Airlines linked airports. Governments linked ministries. But each network spoke its own digital language. None could communicate with another. The world became a collection of electronic kingdoms, powerful, efficient, completely isolated. Meanwhile, a small technology company in California developed an ambitious idea: a universal communication network. Investors listened carefully, then asked one question: who would own it? No one had an answer. The project ended before it began. Without a common standard, no global network could exist. Education evolved differently as well. Students still visited libraries every week. Reference books remained invaluable. Encyclopedias filled entire shelves in homes. School research meant hours spent searching through printed indexes. Finding information required patience. Curiosity still thrived, but answers arrived more slowly. One afternoon, a university student spent 6 hours searching for a single scientific article. Today, it would take seconds. Back then, it was considered normal. News traveled differently, too. Morning newspapers remained the world's primary source of information. Television broadcasts dominated the evening. Radio connected rural communities. Breaking news often reached distant countries a full day later. The phrase "going viral" never entered the language, because information had no global network through which to spread. Entertainment followed another path. Video rental stores flourished. Music arrived on cassette tapes and CDs. Movies premiered in theaters, then months later on home video. Families gathered around television schedules rather than choosing what to watch instantly. Waiting became part of everyday life, not because technology was primitive, but because connection was limited. One evening, a father returned home carrying a stack of encyclopedias. His son asked, "Why are there so many books?" The father smiled. "Because every answer has to live somewhere." The boy opened one volume. Inside, he found a map, an article, a photograph. Knowledge was still there. It simply lived on paper. Across the world, engineers continued making computers smaller, faster, more powerful. Portable computers appeared. Then, handheld digital organizers. Technology raced forward. Yet, every new device carried the same limitation. It worked brilliantly, alone. As the 1990s approached, the world stood on the edge of an incredible technological revolution. Powerful processors, advanced software, digital storage, everything needed for the information age. Everything except the one invention that could connect it all. The camera slowly rises above a bustling city. Millions of people use computers every day. Millions of telephones ring. Millions of letters travel across continents. The world has entered the digital era, but it remains disconnected. Imagine a world with smartphones, but no internet. In 1995, our timeline split. In our world, the web exploded. Websites popped up. Email killed paper mail. Search engines mapped human knowledge. But in this alternate timeline, none of that happened. No web, no browsers, no search. The digital revolution still came. It just looked completely different. Software companies became the biggest giants on Earth, not internet companies. Businesses bought faster programs. Operating systems got smarter. Computers doubled in speed every 12 months. Storage grew massive. Graphics became photorealistic. Yet every single breakthrough remained trapped inside the metal box. A computer was no longer a calculator. It was an extraordinary personal tool. Businesses adapted. International corporations established dedicated communication centers. Every office employed teams responsible for moving information between branches. Documents traveled through encrypted satellite links owned by private companies. Small businesses could not afford them. Global communication became a luxury, not a standard service. Meanwhile, libraries experienced an unexpected renaissance. Instead of disappearing, they expanded. Entire city blocks were transformed into digital reading centers. Visitors could access millions of scanned documents, but only inside the library itself. Knowledge had become digital. Access had not become universal. Journalists worked differently too. Investigative reports took weeks to verify. News agencies exchanged information using secure satellite systems. Fact-checking remained slower, but often more thorough. Rumors spread less rapidly. So did truth. Entertainment followed another path. Television networks grew even more powerful. Movie studios dominated popular culture. Music remained tied to physical media. Record stores flourished. Streaming never existed. Video rental chains became international empires. On Friday evenings, families still browsed shelves filled with films, choosing one movie for the weekend. It was slower, but people actually paid attention. Then came the mobile phones. They got smaller, lighter, smarter. By 2002, engineers built devices that looked exactly like modern smartphones. They had touchscreens, cameras, music players, maps, games. A businessman at the airport checked his digital calendar. He read offline documents. He reviewed spreadsheets, listened to stored music. But if he needed to know a flight delay, he walked to a physical desk. A teenager carried 10,000 songs in her pocket. But she had never heard the word streaming. Social media never emerged. Friendships remained local. Photographs filled printed albums. Vacations ended weeks before anyone saw your pictures. Family reunions were for telling stories, not looking at screens. One afternoon, a boy asked his grandfather, "When you wanted to learn something, what did you do?" The old man laughed. "I went to the library." The boy frowned. "Every time?" "Every single time. And honestly, I liked it." Across the world, technology companies continued searching for a universal communication system. Every attempt failed, not because it was impossible, but because thousands of private networks refused to adopt a common standard. Competition had become the barrier. The digital world had evolved, but it had never united. Every night, millions of computers shut down. Each held incredible power. Each held deep knowledge, but they all stayed silent, waiting for a conversation that never started. The year was 1995. In our history, it marked the beginning of the internet boom. Imagine a world where your phone cannot connect to the internet, because the internet does not exist. It is the year 2010. The 21st century is in full swing. Technology is everywhere, but true connection is nowhere. Every home has a computer. Every business relies on digital systems. Governments manage massive databases. Hospitals use electronic records. Factories are fully automated. Yet every single system exists inside its own closed world. A company in Berlin cannot easily share a file with a business in Brazil. Universities exchange research using physical disks sent by secure satellite courier networks. Medical discoveries take weeks to travel across the globe instead of seconds. Progress is happening. It just moves at a crawl. Shopping looks completely different. There is no Amazon, no one-click purchases, no overnight deliveries ordered from your couch. City centers are packed. Bookstores are thriving. Music shops welcome crowds of customers every single day. Small family businesses survive for decades because local commerce is the only option. Saturday mornings mean walking through busy street markets, talking to shopkeepers, touching products before you buy them. Your neighborhood is the actual center of your life. Banking is slow. Most transactions happen in person with a teller. ATMs are common. Digital banking exists, but only within your own bank's private network. Sending money to someone in another country requires 3 days of paperwork, physical verification, and deep patience. International business is still possible. It just takes weeks instead of seconds. Education is physical. Without online courses, universities have to expand their actual campuses. Lecture halls get bigger. Libraries stay packed from sunrise until midnight. Students travel constantly to study abroad because knowledge cannot simply be downloaded from a website. Academic exchange programs are the only way to share ideas across borders. Journalism still holds massive power. Newspapers print millions of copies every single morning. Television news is the fastest way to know what is happening. Fake news still exists, but it spreads slowly because there are no global social platforms to feed it. Political campaigns are old school. Candidates travel by bus and plane constantly. Town halls are packed with real voters. Televised debates decide elections. There are no viral clips, no trending hashtags, no online influencers. Celebrities are still famous, but they get famous through movies, television, books, and music, not algorithms. One evening, a group of teenagers hangs out at a local cafe. Every single table is filled with loud conversation. Nobody is staring at a glowing screen. No one scrolled endlessly. Friends argued, laughed, shared stories face to face. A waiter smiled quietly. This place is always full. Pause. Across the street, the public library stays open late. Students fill every desk. Researchers flip through paper journals. Librarians guide visitors through rows of shelves stretching for blocks. Finding information requires real physical effort. Perhaps because of that, people value it much more. At a graduation ceremony, a professor stands before his class. He looks at the young crowd. "You were born without the internet," he says, "and you will probably live your whole lives without one." The students nod. The professor continues, "But never confuse speed with actual understanding." The auditorium goes completely silent. Outside the windows, the city glows under bright electric lights. Airplanes cross continents. Satellites orbit the Earth. Technology has reached incredible heights, yet the one invisible network we take for granted still does not exist. Look at the planet from space. There are no streams of digital data wrapping around the globe. No invisible web connects 4 billion people. There are only radio signals, satellite transmissions, and millions of isolated computer systems. The world is highly advanced, yet somehow it remains wonderfully local. And humanity is about to find out exactly how much one missing invention shaped everything about how we live. Imagine a world with AI, robots, and space travel, but zero internet. By the year 2020, this was the actual reality. Technology did not stop growing. It just grew up in total isolation. AI still existed, but it was different. It learned from local databases, not from a global web. Hospitals trained medical systems using only their own patient records. Factories built smart machines just for their own assembly lines. Universities developed powerful research software, but every single breakthrough remained locked inside separate networks. Knowledge still spread. It just traveled through conferences, scientific journals, and international research exchanges. It did not happen through instant downloads. A medical discovery made in Tokyo could still save lives in Brazil. It simply took months instead of hours. Global corporations maintained fleets of secure communication satellites. Every international office synchronized information overnight. Small businesses relied on courier services and dedicated communication providers. This created a brand new profession: digital couriers. These were experts paid to transport encrypted data between private networks. Meanwhile, television remained the biggest source of entertainment on Earth. Live broadcasts united entire nations. Families gathered every single night to watch the same programs together. Movie premieres were massive global events. Music spread through live concerts, radio, and physical albums. The idea of becoming famous overnight did not exist. Politics evolved differently too. Campaigns depended on public debates, printed newspapers, television interviews, and community meetings. One afternoon, inside a technology conference in Geneva, a young engineer stood before an audience of scientists. He unveiled a bold proposal. What if every computer in the world could communicate through one universal network? The room fell silent. Some people smiled politely. Others applauded the ambition. An older engineer quietly stood up and replied, "It is a beautiful dream. But every company wants its own system." The proposal was archived, just like dozens of others before it. The dream of a global network remained just a dream. Yet people rarely felt like they were missing anything. They had never known anything different. Children played outside until sunset. Neighbors visited each other without sending messages first. Birthdays were remembered by handwritten cards. Maps were folded from paper. Travelers asked strangers for directions. Bookstores remained busy. Libraries became community centers. Conversation became a daily habit. One evening, a grandmother sat beside her grandson. He held an old globe in his hands. He looked up and asked, "Grandma, how did people stay close to friends living far away?" She smiled. She told him they wrote letters. He asked if they were slow. She said, "Sometimes." He asked if they were worth waiting for. She looked toward a shelf filled with carefully tied bundles of old envelopes. Then she answered softly, "Every single one." As night fell, cities across the world shimmered with electric light. Airplanes crossed the skies. High-speed trains raced across continents. Space stations circled the Earth. Humanity achieved extraordinary things. They did it all without ever building the internet. If you looked down from space, the continents glowed. The oceans reflected the moonlight. But unlike our world, no invisible web of billions of digital connections surrounded the Earth. There was only silence. It was a civilization that had learned a valuable lesson. There is more than one way to stay connected. And sometimes, the slower way is the one that keeps us human. The year is 2026, but it is not the year we know. The world is wealthier than ever. Technology is extraordinary, yet one invention never connected humanity. There is no internet. No websites, no email, no social media, no search engines, no cloud computing, no online shopping, no video streaming, no video calls. From space, Earth still glows at night. Satellites circle the planet. Aircraft cross every continent. High-speed trains race through modern cities. At first glance, everything seems familiar. Until you look closer. Morning begins differently. A businessman enters his office. His computer is incredibly powerful. Creates reports. It runs advanced simulations. But it cannot access the rest of the world. Every important document arrives through secure physical data transfers or private corporate satellite systems. A student preparing a university thesis walks into the world's largest library. Instead of opening a browser, she walks through endless digital archives stored inside the building. Millions of books, millions of research papers. Every answer still exists. It simply cannot be reached from home. Across the city, families shop in busy streets. Bookstores remain crowded. Electronic stores thrive. Local newspapers still arrive every morning. People know the owners of neighborhood cafes. Children spend afternoons playing football in parks instead of scrolling through feeds. Conversations last longer. Break time call. Silence feels less uncomfortable. Break time 3. Television remains the center of entertainment. Entire countries still watch the same live broadcasts together. Movies premiere in cinemas. Albums release in music stores. Celebrities become famous through years of work, not through algorithms. Meanwhile, hospitals use astonishingly advanced medical technology. Artificial intelligence helps diagnose diseases. Robotic surgeons perform delicate operations, but every hospital trains its own systems. Medical breakthroughs spread through international conferences instead of instant uploads. Progress still happens, just more slowly. One remarkable profession exists in this world. Break time 0.2. Knowledge couriers. Highly trusted specialists who transport encrypted scientific databases between universities, governments, and research centers. Some compare them to medieval messengers. Others call them the librarians of the digital age. One courier boards a high-speed train carrying a tiny storage device. Inside it are 20 years of climate research. Knowledge still travels. It simply has passengers again. At the National Museum of Technology, one room is always crowded. It contains a strange exhibit, a prototype labeled Global Computer Network Proposal. Break time 03 seconds. Visitors stare at the diagrams. The guide explains, several engineers imagined connecting every computer on Earth. A child asks, why didn't they? The guide smiles gently and says that sometimes the greatest inventions are not the hardest to build. They are just the hardest to agree upon. The room grows quiet. Outside, life continues. People write handwritten birthday cards. Neighbors knock before visiting. Businesses close on Sundays. Libraries remain full. Bookstores never disappeared. Communities know one another. The world feels slower. Perhaps it also feels a little smaller. As evening falls, the camera rises above the city. No blue glow shines from millions of phones. Parks remain busy. Restaurants echo with conversation. Homes gather around dinner tables. Higher still, Earth rotates beneath the stars. No invisible web surrounds the planet. Only radio waves, satellite signals, and billions of people living remarkable lives without ever going online. The camera slowly fades into the darkness of space. One missing invention did not stop progress. It simply changed what progress looked like. In this world, they did not build a digital cage. They built a physical community. People look each other in the eye when they speak. Business is done with a handshake. Trust is not a verified blue checkmark. It is a reputation built over decades. If you want to know the news, you buy a paper. If you want to talk to a friend, you walk to their house. It is a different kind of human connection. It is tangible. It is real. It is a world where we never lost our focus. We never sold our attention to the highest bidder. We kept our minds. We kept our time. We kept our lives. And maybe, just maybe, we kept our humanity. The screen goes black. The quiet remains. Every generation invents something that alters the course of human history. The wheel, the compass, the printing press, electricity, the airplane, the computer, and in our world, we have the internet. Almost no other human creation has transformed our daily lives so completely. It changed how we work. It changed how we learn. It changed how we communicate with each other. It changed how we build businesses, how we fall in love, how we remember things, and sometimes it changed how we forget. Tonight, we imagined a completely different path for humanity. We looked at a world where computers became powerful machines, but they never connected to each other. A world where libraries remained packed with people, where handwritten letters still carried deep emotions across oceans, where conversations only happened face to face. In that world, information moved much more slowly. But perhaps, because of that, it received far more attention. Would that world be better than ours? Probably not. Would it be worse? Probably not. It would simply be different, because every single invention gives humanity a new superpower, but it always quietly asks for something in return. The internet gave us instant access to all human knowledge, but it also gave us endless distraction. It connected billions of people across the globe. Yet so many of those people still feel completely alone. It created opportunities that were unimaginable just 30 years ago. But it also created massive challenges that no human civilization had ever faced before. History rarely offers us perfect choices. It only offers us different consequences. Inside the National Museum of Technology, the last visitors quietly head for the exit. Only one exhibit remains illuminated in the dark hall. A dusty paper folder rests beneath a thick pane of glass. Its title reads, ARPANET Funding Proposal Rejected. It is only a few pages long. There is nothing remarkable about it at first glance. A young child looks at the display and points. He asks his father if it is important. The curator overhears and smiles. He says it might be the most important project that never happened. The child stares at the old documents, trying to imagine a world connected by invisible networks. A world that no one around him has ever seen or known. Outside, night settles over the city. Bookstores close their doors for the evening. Libraries switch off their lights. Restaurants remain full of loud, lively conversation. Neighbors wave to one another on the street. Letters continue their slow journey through the postal system. Life moves forward. Without notifications, without timelines, without endless scrolling, the camera slowly rises above the rooftops, above the city, above the clouds, above Earth itself. The planet turns quietly beneath the stars. No glowing web of digital connections surrounds the globe. There is only one beautiful blue world, still searching for better ways to understand itself. The thick pages of an ancient book begin to turn. One page, then another. The final page closes with a heavy thud. A bronze seal is pressed deep into warm red wax. The emblem of the hidden archives appears. This archive is now complete. Tonight, we imagined a world where the internet was never invented. Tomorrow, another forgotten possibility waits for us beyond the next page. Because history is not only the story of what actually happened, it is also the story of every single future that almost existed. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring impossible ideas, keep challenging certainty, and never stop wondering what if. Thank you for opening another hidden archive with us. Until our next journey, good night.